Welcome to the BAM and Beyond podcast. If you're new to BAM, we're a team of British East and Southeast Asian creatives who are passionate about entertaining others and uplifting the community.
From sharing heartfelt stories to exploring Asian culture and society, we believe in the power of representation and sharing our collective experiences to inspire and empower our community.
Our goal is to bring the British Asian community together and bridge the gap with the rest of the world. My name is Ray.
My name is Sophia.
And today, we have a very, very special guest. The cooler version of me, Mr. Ray Roberts. Hi, Ray. If you want to introduce yourself.
I wouldn't say cooler. You're definitely, without a doubt. Like there's going to be a video version of this as well, isn't there? Like if anyone could see like the comparison between us right now, you are without a doubt the cooler, right? Like look at your hair. Look at your hair. Your mum did that as well.
Yeah, my mum cut my hair. Shouts to mum.
Like mine is like it's just a mess. But yeah, anyway. I am also Ray, but Ray spelt with an A, not an E. And I am a mixed race British Filipino filmmaker who lives in London.
So if you guys don't know about Ray, you definitely should be checking out his YouTube channel because he's an amazing filmmaker, an amazing YouTuber. Honestly, he's a man of many talents that you guys definitely need to be checking out. But I guess today we'll be talking about your journey as a filmmaker, and you've also done some freelance work as well. So I guess, why did you decide to go into the area of film?
I think mainly because I didn't want to become a nurse. That's a joke. That's a joke. Yeah. I don't know. As a kid, I just always loved films. I was always like really obsessive about films. When I was like a young teenager, when I was about 11, 12, I was obsessed with, like, I wanted to watch every single like cult classic film. I wanted to be able to like, you know, like on The Simpsons when they like reference like a classic film, something like Psycho or Back to the Future or Star Wars. I just wanted to know every single reference. So I would always like tell my dad, and he was quite into films. So he would always get quite excited and buy me like the DVDs and we would watch it together. So yeah, I've always just been a bit of a film nerd. And then, yeah, like when YouTube became a thing in like the late 2000s, around like 2006, I started seeing a lot of content creators online who were like a little bit older than me. Did you guys ever watch like Kev Jumba or Niga Higa? Or I used to also watch, I forgot his name. Charlie Is So Cool, like the British vlogger.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I used to watch their videos, and they were like, they were older than me, but I remember thinking as a 12-year-old, hey, I could be doing this. I can do this. They use webcams. I can buy a webcam for £10. And then I bought a webcam and started making like horrible little sketches. And then like there was no like transition period when I was like, okay, I want to go into more serious film. It was like just slowly I was doing like silly little sketches and little YouTube videos, and then every now and again trying something new, like trying to do like little documentaries or more serious stuff or scripted stuff, narrative things. And then just one day I just kind of like looked at my work and realized I was kind of going into film, like a more like classical cinema kind of thing, even if you want to call it that. Like it was still like me at 15 making little short films with my friends. Yeah, just ever since then I've been making videos and films, all kinds of stuff. I always say like I'm a master. No, I'm not a master. Opposite of that. I'm a jack of all trades, but master of none. So I don't really have like a main focus in film. I like to do lots of kind of things.
Dabble in everything.
Yeah.
That's sick. Would you say, because I know for me to get into what I wanted to do now, acting, there was a journey and story behind it. But would you say, because I know for myself that my parents always encouraged me to go for the non-creative route, in a sense where they were like, hey, you're pretty good at science, why don't you go into this field? Or you're very good at writing, why don't you go into this particular field? Very corporate. Would you say that you had a lot of freedom in the choices you decided to make?
Not really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like I can relate a lot. Like my mother really wanted me to go into film. No, sorry, opposite. My mother really wanted me to be a nurse or doctor, and it didn't help that my biology teacher at school, at secondary school, he was also Filipino.
Oh.
So when he would come in, when my mum would come in for parents' evening, they would sit down, they'd start speaking Tagalog at each other, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I was just going completely over my head. But then, like, for anyone who knows or has even heard Tagalog, you know, like how English slips in every now and again, like they'll say
Yeah.
little phrases in English. So I'm just waiting for those little phrases to come out, and all I can hear is blah 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 blah. Can he be a doctor? Blah 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 blah. And yeah, like yeah, I was like the best in my class at biology, but I never cared about it. I never cared about biology. But ever since then, my mum was like, okay, he's on the right path. He can be a doctor. He's gonna make loads of money. I'm gonna be able to retire early, and he's gonna take care of me. But she was always like a bit, not she was like she was aware that it was a big passion and hobby of mine as a kid, making videos, but she never really like took time to understand or get it. My dad was a little bit more supportive, but he never really took it serious as like a career thing. He was a bit more open, but my mum was very like, you're going to be a doctor. And then it was a bit sad because when I chose to go to film school, it was all like good news. I my first choice university, which was UCA in Farnham, the University for the Creative Arts, I got an unconditional offer from them, and for me that was like big news. I remember being really like shy to tell my mother about it, and then because she didn't even know I was looking at universities for that. And then one day she was like saying, "Have you thought about going to university? You know, you need to become a doctor." And I told her, "Look, I'm going to go study film. That's what I want to do. It's what I've always wanted to do." And she was really angry, and then we were kind of like off with each other for a little while. And then when I moved out, we didn't talk for about a year, which was a little bit sad. But then yeah, but then you know, we started talking again while I was still at university. Like some point towards the end of first year, we started talking, and everything's good now. She's relatively supportive. She does like when friends ask her, "What does your son do?" She doesn't really know how to explain it. She because she doesn't like films. She's seen like 4 films in her life.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she just doesn't get it. She doesn't like watching stuff that's like not factual, like not the news or whatever. She just doesn't see the appeal. But if anyone like asks her, like my aunties and stuff, "Oh, how's Ray? What's he doing?" She always says, "Oh yeah, he's trying to be famous on the internet or something."
That's interesting. Kind of thinking about how I used to like approach my own family. So like my parents were really, I was really fortunate that like my parents were pretty understanding of what I wanted to do. I mean, they did joke about like, so do you want to be a doctor? Want to be a lawyer? An accountant? And I was like, nope, nope, nope. And they're like, okay, never mind. We tried. And then like they moved on. But then I felt like from like my aunties and uncles, it was a lot harsher on me in terms of what they expected of me, because that idea of going into the media industry and just going to media in general was, you know, just the BBC, or like I think at the time there was like a lot of stuff in terms of like happening in Pakistan or Syria and stuff. So they're like, "Are you gonna get involved in war journalism?" And I was like, "Huh? Where did you get this like concept of idea that the media means this?" Like I was like, there's so much more to media than just the news. By the way, I'm not gonna be a journalist. I thought about it, but I'm over it. But but yeah, so I definitely understand the whole difficulty with the sort of slight expectations of people, because everyone used to be like, "Oh, this is an unstable career. You're not gonna be paid that well. Like, why are you doing this? Why didn't you do something where you know you can, you know, there's gonna be a stable career with a good amount of money?" And I'm like, yeah, but when I was growing up, I was just thinking like, what would I want more, like the stability and having money, or doing something that I'm a lot more passionate about? Because being the person I am, I don't think I would have been able to stick to something like a STEM subject, just because I just didn't have that kind of passion. Like, yeah, I can get like, you know, decently good grades for it, but would I be able to do it long term? I don't think so. It's really not my style.
I think for me, it took me to be a little bit serious because I've always been a happy-go-lucky person. So my mum, I've always been in and out of school, going out and then leaving and then never finishing a course or something, I've always ended up like finishing it like years later. I did like 1 year of something I was passionate about for like a year, and I was like, maybe this isn't for me, and then I dabble into everything. Hence why my mum like always wanted me to push for a stable career, because I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life, in that sense. But when I decided to drop everything and just leave back in 2018 to go to the Philippines, I think that was when my mum noticed that, like, I went there with a reason, went there with purpose. I made these connections, and that was like the first time in like I think I noticed her. It's not like that they really forced me to do anything, but they would always probably be like, "Hey, you're good at this, you're good at that," but they never really asked, like, "What do you want to do?" You know. So I felt like in that sense I was pushed in a particular direction, but I wasn't not supported by that. I was fortunate in that sense.
So I guess like we've talked about, our sort of challenges in terms of like, our career path and like, I guess what our parents expected of us and how they thought of our decisions. But do you think have you faced any other challenges in terms of, your identity and stuff? How have you
How's that?
dealt with those and overcome them?
I grew up in a small town in the middle of Wiltshire, in the south of England, that was very sheltered. Like, people are born there and they typically die there. They spend their entire lives in this tiny town, and it's predominantly very white. And kind of growing up in that atmosphere, I felt really just different and weird. Like, in my school, for example, we only had I think in primary school there was only 4 non-British kids, including me. So yeah, and because I was like the only one that was Southeast Asian, and especially these sheltered small town British kids, they can't tell the difference between like any Asian. So I would get called, horrible things. They'd make like if when my mother would pick me up, they make like mocking accents at her. They do like the eye thing to her and like say rhymes at her. So yeah, I think just growing up with that, it gave me a lot of resentment for my Filipino side and being Asian in general. Yeah, it just like made me feel weird. Like when I was 6 years old, I remember um being like I used to get really bullied a lot for what was in my lunchbox, because my mum would always just give me like leftover adobo and rice and and stuff in my lunch, and the kids would look at it and be like, "Oh, what is that?" And they're there with their like, I don't remember what they're called. Cheese strings. I forgot about cheese strings. They're there with their cheese strings and their Dairy Lunchables. Remember those with the crackers and cheese and stuff? I never had that. I just had rice. And the kids would like make fun of me. They'd call me poor. I remember they used to draw pictures of me with like a rice paddy hat. And because I was mixed race, I always used to cling onto the British side. Like, come on, guys, I was born here. I'm English, leave me alone. And I do really dislike myself for that. Yeah, I remember going up to my mother and telling her, "Look, Mum, could you make me some normal things? It's really weird. No one else eats this kind of stuff." And I distinctly remember not liking sandwiches. I was a really picky eater as a kid when I was really young, and I didn't like sandwiches. And the only sandwich I liked was just like, I'm completely different now. I can eat anything, but like back then, the only thing I liked in a sandwich was just butter and ham.
Oh, wow.
So I would just have that as a kid every day. It was just that every day, butter and ham and a sandwich. These days, I think about it a lot because obviously my mother, who was like, she's migrated here. She let go of her entire like lifestyle and way of life in the Philippines just to raise me up, and she wanted me to thrive. She has barely anyone who she can connect with in this small town to kind of like keep her culture going, other than passing it on to me. And I did nothing but tell her that it was weird to stop speaking to me in my first language. But yeah, I definitely like, I always think about when I got a little bit older, I started to kind of, I don't know, I had like, I developed new issues with like my Asianness. Like, I remember when I was about 14, I started like to make friends on the internet, like nerdy people, mostly like people I used to game with on Xbox. And we would like bond over anime, and like everyone was like super into Japanese stuff, and everyone wanted like their dream was like to go visit Japan. And I think that's still like very much a big thing amongst a lot of people. So yeah, when I was like 14, 15, I wouldn't lie completely. I would tell them I was still part Filipino, but I'd say I was half English, a quarter Filipino, and then a quarter Japanese. And that was a complete lie. I would say that just because I knew I could pass as that. And their reaction to the Japanese part was always like, "Oh my god, that's so fucking cool. Have you ever been to Japan? What's that like?" Yeah, like they would always fixate on that. They'd like the Filipino thing would just be like, it's as if I didn't say it. So yeah, I remember like I kept that going on until I was maybe 15, maybe 16. I don't know. But like towards the end, I just used to get really embarrassed. I felt like I was just lying to keep it, consistent. So if anyone like heard, "Oh no, he told me he was half Filipino," it would just be. But yeah, I do really dislike that I used to do that. Just because I felt like that was something I could pass as, and that was a cooler Asian. It's a bit like the Addie Wong Netflix special where she talks about jungle Asians and rich Asians,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be the rich Asian.
Then I guess like looking back to everything that happened in your past and who you are today, is there anything that you would say to your younger self now, knowing that everything has happened?
Like I do very much regret how much I suppressed my Filipino culture growing up. I often tell a lot of people that I blame the systems in this country for why I forgot my first language. It was the head teacher of the primary school who said to my mother when I started, "Look, Ray's been struggling a little bit keeping up. His English isn't good enough. Maybe you should cut out his first language, which was Cebuano. Just cut that out, cold turkey. It's not useful here, and just focus on English." So my mother only spoke to me in English after that point, but I definitely also probably just wanted to be more normal, so I just pushed English really hard. So yeah, I definitely blame myself for that. But it's not just the language as well. It was just like I really recall resented being Filipino. I resented my mother picking me up. Um, like they would go up to her and like say like awful little racist rhymes or mock her accent. Um, or like I said, like do the horrible little eye face at her, but they make their eyes slanted. But I remember clearly being 5 years old, and I didn't feel bad for my mother. I felt bad for being weird. Like it just made me feel weird. So if I could go back, I'd probably tell myself that, you know, just embrace who you are. You're not weird. If I could also tell my mother something, I'd probably tell her to move to somewhere a bit more multicultural so I could see other people like me or other Filipinos or other Asians. Because I feel like that would have made a huge difference just in my attitude towards my race. Because like I think it like when you're 4 or 5, you have barely any concept of race. All I knew was I look different, my mum looks different, and I'm being treated differently, so I am weird. That's all I knew at the time. But yeah, I would just tell myself to embrace it. And that I'm not weird, obviously.
We're not weird.
I think everything that we experience in our lives is what makes us who we are today. And I'm pretty happy with how everyone turned out.
Me too.
So, and like, given all of our experiences, like, if it wasn't for everything that we experienced, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have met each other today. For Ray, or Bam Ray, we've known each other for so many years, but if it wasn't for something like the pandemic, for example, we wouldn't have come together as Bam. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I wouldn't have met Ray Roberts here. We've been fortunate enough to meet in real life. So even though we've definitely dealt with like a lot of, difficult situations, and I know for myself that I've lost, when I was growing up, I felt like I lost a part of my identity. like I wish I spoke fluently my mother tongue, but I don't. And that's something that I regret not learning. But I guess at this point, like it's never too late to kind of learn our sort of identity. And I guess like with how the world is today, I feel like people are learning to educate themselves a lot more, especially from their cultural backgrounds and everything. So yeah.
I'm just glad like Ray's in a position to be where he is right now. So yeah, just hearing that whole journey as a whole, I can't imagine how difficult it is because I can't relate as someone who's super fortunate to have been born and raised in London. So I can't imagine what that was like, especially when you came over here and then having to see yourself like as different as a bad thing, which is something I don't ever think I've had to experience. Fortunately, it's really touching. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no worries. I definitely think I don't think there's anywhere else in the UK I could live other than London, purely because of I just love, now that I'm like, I'm a lot more open to embrace my heritage and celebrate my culture. I also like just love seeing other cultures being represented right, and just like,
Yeah.
just like if you live in London and you see like, almost every little culture has like, no matter how small the community is, they'll have their own like little ends or have their own little neighborhood. And it's nice like just seeing that and being exposed to it and learning about other cultures. And I just don't feel like you can do that in a lot of the UK. Like maybe like I've heard good things about places like Manchester, but for me London's just it's the only place I could live here.
I definitely agree because I think even for me, because I don't live like in central London, I like live in kind of the edge of London. So because of that, I definitely understand the difference between like living in the center of it or like the heart of the city. Because I feel like when I was growing up, because I lived pretty much further out, like I went to college in like Surrey, so it was like pretty like predominantly white, and like I wasn't exposed to a lot of people from like different cultures. And I felt that my life changed a lot when I started to integrate with people within this like central London community. Like I was like, oh my god, there's other Asians, people who look like me, people that who can kind of relate to the things that I'm interested in without being looked down upon by what my interests were. And I know that like even though I'm British born, I never really, even though I say that I'm British, Chinese, Vietnamese, I don't know how British I really feel because, like, for example, like, you know, really classic British dishes, and they were like having a Sunday roast or eating English breakfast, like really typical things and stuff like that. I didn't even do that until I like went to college, just because my friends brought it up one day, and they were like, "Have you eaten this?" And I was like, "No." Am I meant to? Just because, like, when you live in an Asian household, as not to be stereotypical or anything, but you'd eat rice or you eat noodles or you eat something like it's not that common to eat British food. So I guess like trying to embrace that and understanding that like, oh, there's these different cultures and stuff, but like, and try, I guess, I don't know about both of you guys, but for me, like I know how, like, well, I guess Ray Roberts, you said that like you wanted to try and be more like those people, and for me, like I tried to push myself out there to be kind of a bit more like them because I felt like I didn't fit well enough with my own interests. So yeah, I think it's really difficult depending on how you grew up, really. But I'm glad that like the world now is a lot more open and people are like immersing themselves in culture, and like I think I was talking in another episode about how like my interest in K-pop is now become something that's like a worldwide phenomenon that people really like. So it's really strange thinking about it now.
No, yeah, I definitely feel that. I think mine's more to do with like anime related things because it's now the trend, it's now the cool thing.
But
But
you liked it when it wasn't cool.
yeah, I liked it when it wasn't cool. Like people used to laugh at me when I used to run in the hallways like Naruto, and then only like I remember like
I
growing
would
up.
still laugh at you if I saw
I
you
mean,
running.
I would, it is pretty funny to do, but I do enjoy it because I think it's just funny. And it's something that like I grew up with, and I thought was really cool. I identified with those characters that were there. So, and the storytelling as a whole, I think, is one of the reasons why I love the creative field. One of the reasons why I enjoy writing. Just I like feeling emotions and stuff. So yeah.
To kind of sort of round off the episode, the one
Yeah.
thing I wanted to ask actually, so I guess I learned about Ray also because of his video. I can't remember the exact title, my bad, but I remember it was a video talking about, you decided to create a video, and I remember you said you were hesitant about posting it, and it was about your identity and being like mixed race and stuff
Yes.
like that. And I think that video was such a powerful video, and I think that was something that really I guess that's something that I associate you with now whenever I think about your YouTube videos and stuff. But is there anything like that you've created and stuff that you would recommend people wanting to watch, or something that you're really proud of as well?
Yeah.
That video is definitely something I'm very proud of. That video is called Being Half Asian. It goes into a lot of the stuff that I've talked about here, to do with Asian identity and growing up in the UK and systemic racism that's very much within, especially British, like small British isolated small towns, and just like, it just goes into my like kind of journey of cultural identity and now why I choose to embrace it. So yeah, you can watch that. I would say the reason why I'm most proud about it is it resonated with a lot of people. I also spoke a lot about issues that maybe only relate to people who are of mixed race, and that's a topic that I never really see talked about too much, like the feeling of being like torn between two cultures. I hear talked about sometimes, but like not just being like, having two passports, or like, because I look quite ambiguous, so feeling like I don't look British enough to be British, or I don't look Filipino enough to be Filipino, I think has its whole like kind of world of other identity issues and crises to be had when you just look ambiguous. But yeah, I'm incredibly proud that the response that video had. I think the main reason why I was hesitant to post it was just because I felt, especially with the mixed race stuff, a lot of those feelings were not. I felt like it wasn't valid, just because I never see it talked about, and also I felt like a lot of me talking about my experiences with Asian identity, I felt like a lot of those wouldn't be valid because people would be like, oh, you're half white, you're white, you grew up here, So I always felt like I can't talk about being Asian because, there's like a bit of a sense of like imposter syndrome, but it resonated with a lot of people, and I'm pretty proud of that. But if you want to watch something a little bit more lighthearted, I've got like a load of other videos. I think my main thing at the minute is food. I do a lot of videos where I try different foods from other cultures, and I really try to focus on the history and culture of food. Because like I said earlier, I think it's so important to learn about other cultures, to really understand other people. And food is the gateway. Food is like the thing that everyone can relate to. Like it doesn't take long. If you start talking to someone about their culture, it probably won't take long before you start talking about food. It's something we can all relate to. And yeah, so if you want to learn a little bit about food and see me eat, then yeah, you can check out my YouTube and watch me stuff my face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even when we first met, I feel like the two times that we got together was us eating.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I recall.
Yeah, our friendship is just bounded by food.
It's a good thing though. We're gonna be bounded by
who
good
doesn't love
flavors and good
food?
vibes.
Oh my god! To round this off, why don't you plug your socials, Ray? Where can everybody find you?
Okay, so on most things you can find me under Ray Roberts. I can't even remember what isn't Ray. Like some of them are Ray Roberts, and then a little what do you call the line that's
Underscore?
below?
Underscore.
Yeah, Ray. I don't even know what it's called. Ray Roberts underscore. I think that's what I am on Twitter, and then Instagram is Ray Roberts. YouTube is Ray Roberts. I also share a name with a lake in Texas. There's a big, massive lake just called Ray Roberts. So you might find, like, basically, if you Google me and you see a large body of water, that is not me. Just keep scrolling until you see my face.
Yeah, I will also pop his links down below in the description if you are watching the YouTube video. But yes, thank you, Ray.
Indeed. It's been lovely listening to you as well, like to hear
Well,
about
thank
your
you for having me.
story. Yeah. We've been wanting to have you on this podcast
Since season 1.
since last year.
This
Oh,
is in one.
my heart's
Yeah.
melting.
So we're really
I love
glad
you
that you could
guys.
come and talk to us
Love you,
today. It really means so much.
Mhm.
I guess it's our turn to plug our socials, right,
Yes,
Ray?
indeed.
So if you guys would like to check out our content, don't forget to check us out on our social media. So that's Bam and Beyond. That's BAM and BEYOND. Yeah.
Yes.
But you guys can check us on Instagram. We're mainly very active there. We also have Twitch, which you'll always find Ray there hosting. Maybe we'll even have Ray Roberts on the Twitch stream.
Yes, I would love that.
I know you guys were looking forward to having a live stream at some
Oh
point.
yeah, we've got to plan that out. It's gonna be jokes.
Also, we have, I guess you can support us in other ways. So we have merch. Unfortunately, neither of us are wearing merch today, but we do have merch. So
Let me double check. I may or may not have something on me today.
How cool would it be if I just like stood up and I revealed I'm wearing merch?
Hold on. I think.
You think?
I
You
came
think?
somewhat prepared. Somewhat. As I come to unfold my clothing, but yes, we do have merch. You can check it out on bamabeyond.com. Our store is there. You'll be able to. Yeah, I do have it.
By the way, it's really comfy, guys. So you
It's
guys
really
should
comfy.
you guys should check out our merch. Otherwise, you can support us by buying a bubble tea at Coffee. You can either pay to support monthly or on a one-off payment. If you guys have Amazon Prime, then don't forget to subscribe to us on Twitch. You can do it for free, and that means that you can use our special emotes on our channel, as well as earn faster points to unlock some interesting challenges on Twitch, which you guys can find out if you watch our Twitch channel.
Indeed.
What else do I need to promote? I guess other than that, if you guys want to hear from the community, actually later today when we finish recording this podcast, we're actually going to have a film night. So you can check out our Discord. We have several watch parties. We've been watching a lot of Asian films, and Ray Roberts has been joining me a lot on these films.
Yeah.
Yet somehow we've always been crying at every watch party. Really need to be watching a lot more happier films.
Happy ones.
Maybe we're the issue. Maybe we're just too emotional.
Maybe.
It's a good thing.
Maybe we just feel very immersed in our Asian in these Asian films. Because we need some more representation. So we're thriving for the representation that we've been watching. And other than that, I guess if any of you guys are on Clubhouse, then you can check us out on our Clubhouse Club as well. But with Discord's recent update, it seems like Clubhouse is might be more moving all the way to Discord.
This is very true.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening today. As I've mentioned already, it's been lovely to have you, Ray.
Yes, thank you so much, Ray.
Yeah, whether you're watching on our YouTube or listening on our podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, whatever, we hope that you guys enjoyed hearing from us today. And on that note, bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.